Today's video is about Rwanda. No, not Wanda, Rwanda. Let's get into the video. Let's start off with some political information. Rwanda is a presidential republic. What is that, you may ask? A presidential republic is a democratic and republican system of government where a head of government leads an executive branch that is separate from the legislative branch. This head of government is in most cases also the head of state, which is called the president. To vote, you must be 18 years of age. That's universal for male and female. The Rwandan flag has 3 horizontal bands, with sky blue at the top, yellow in the middle, and green on the bottom, and with a golden sun with 24 rays near the right end of the blue band. The blue represents happiness and peace, yellow, economic development and mineral wealth, green, hope of prosperity and natural resources. The sun symbolizes unity, as well as enlightenment and transparency from ignorance. Here is Rwanda on a map of Africa. Here is Rwanda zoomed in on the map. As you can see, the capital is Kigali. Now for a speed round about the Rwandan military. To be in the military, you must be 18 years of age to volunteer. A Rwandan citizenship is required, as is a 9th grade education for enlisted recruits. If you would like to be an officer candidate, you need an A-level certificate. You can enlist in either 5-year renewable twice contract or a career. For officers and senior NCOs, you can retire after 20 years of service or be at the ages of 40 to 60 years old. I bet you didn't know that Rwanda has the distinction of having the world's first female majority legislative body. After the 2008 elections, 55% of the deputies were women. Now let's get into some economic information. The top crops in Rwandan agriculture include taro, milk, gourds, maize, beans, plantains, potatoes, cassava, sweet potatoes, and bananas. Next, let's get into the top industries of Rwanda. We have cement, agricultural products, small-scale beverages, soap, furniture, shoes, plastic goods, textiles, and cigarettes. Now, let's get into the natural resources of Rwanda. Those include gold, cassiterite, wolframite, methane, hydropower, and arable land. Their GDP in purchasing power parity was $28.118 billion. Their unemployment rate compared to the U.S. is 2.7%. Rwanda's main exports and partners include United Arab Emirates at 35%, Democratic Republic of Congo at 28%, and Uganda at 5%. Rwanda's per capita of GDP is $2,227 in 2019. Their country's comparison rank in GDP is 208th. You may be asking yourself, what about their money? Well, this is an example of the Rwandan franc. It is Rwanda's currency. 1 Rwandan franc is equal to 1/1000th of a US dollar. Rwanda's main imports and partners include China at 17%, Kenya 10%, 9% from Tanzania and United Arab Emirates, India at 7%, and Saudi Arabia at 5%. The population below poverty line in Rwanda is around 39%. COVID-19 affected the whole world. Rwanda was in the middle of an economic boom prior to the pandemic. Economic growth exceeded 10% in 2019, driven mostly by large public investments for implementation of the National Strategy of Transformation. Strong growth was expected to continue in 2020, but since the pandemic, not much that was expected happened. Let's jump on into some historic information. Rwanda was a German colony from 1900 until the end of World War I. Belgium headed the country from 1917 until its independence on July 1st, 1962. While under Belgian rule, the minority Tutsis dominated the government. The education system was also controlled by the Tutsis and preferred tuition for Tutsi children. Rwanda's current prime minister is Edouard Ngirente. In 1899, Rwanda was colonized by the German Empire, and it was officially incorporated into German East Africa and ruled indirectly through King Musinga's government. To keep this video school appropriate, I'm using less graphic photos. This is only a percentage of what actually happened. In just 100 days in 1994, about 800,000 people were slaughtered in Rwanda by ethnic Hutu extremists. They were targeting members of the minority Tutsi community, as well as their political opponents, irrespective of their ethnic origin. Well, then how did it end? The well-organized RPF, Rwandan Patriotic Front, backed by Uganda's army, gradually seized more territory until July 4th, 1994, when its forces marched into the capital Kigali. Some 2 million Hutus, both civilians and some of those involved in the genocide, then fled across the border to the Democratic Republic of Congo, fearing revenge attacks. Others went to neighboring Tanzania and Burundi. Let's get into some geographical information. In Rwanda, there are 2 rainy seasons, February to April and November to January. It's mild in the mountains, with frost and snow possible. The highest elevation in Rwanda is 4,507 meters, or 14,787 feet above sea level. The lowest elevation is 950 meters, or 3,117 feet above sea level. 2 natural hazards that occur in Rwanda include periodic droughts and the eruption of volcano Virunga in the northwest along the border of Democratic Republic of Congo. The countries that border Rwanda include Burundi at 315 kilometers, Democratic Republic of Congo at 221 kilometers, Tanzania at 222 kilometers, and Uganda at 172 kilometers. Now, let's talk about Rwanda's major rivers and lakes. The Kagera River. The Rubavu River, the Kagera River, also Akagera River, is an East African river, forming part of the upper headwaters of the Nile and carrying water from its most distant source. It flows into Lake Victoria. River Nyiragongo, or Nyiragongo, begins in the Nyungwe Forest, at a location considered by some to be the most distant source of the Nile. From this source, it follows a course up to the northwestern part of the country, then down through the center to the southeast, eventually forming the main tributary of the Kagera River, which flows into Lake Victoria. The major Rwandan lakes include Kivu, Ruhondo, Burera, Mahaza, and Lake Ihema. Lake Kivu is the largest freshwater lake of the Rwandan region. Lake Kivu is also one of the Great Lakes in the entire African continent. Lake Burera and Lake Ruhondo are the 2 most neglected lakes of Rwanda. These lakes are surrounded by steep hills and large waterfalls with the backdrop of the Virunga volcanic mountains. These twin lakes are great spots to be visited after watching the gorillas in the Rwandan mountains. Lake Victoria. I didn't put this on the list because Lake Victoria needed its own category. Lake Victoria is only exceeded in size by Lake Superior in North America. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the lake and its surrounding areas were threatened by the consequences of overfishing as well as by ecological damage from pollution and invasive species such as the water hyacinth and Nile perch. The Lake Victoria region is one of the mostly populated in Africa. Within 50 miles of its shores live several million people. There are local streamer services around the lake. Some environmental issues that are occurring right now include deforestation, which results from uncontrolled cutting of trees for fuel, overgrazing, land degradation, soil erosion, a decline in soil fertility, wetland degradation, and loss of biodiversity, and also widespread poaching. And now on to social information. The life and welfare of the people. Most people in Rwanda over the age of 15 can read and write. That is 73.2%. That includes the 77.6% of males and 69.4% of females that can read and write. The top 3 languages in Rwanda include Kinyarwanda, French, and English. The infant mortality rate in Rwanda is just around 27 deaths per 1,000 live births. That includes, out of 1,000, 30 deaths for males and 25 deaths for females. The average life expectancy in Rwanda is just around 65 and a half years old. In July of 2020, the population was just around 12.7 million people. Let's jump on into the values and beliefs of the Rwandan people. The 3 main religions in Rwanda include Roman Catholic at 43.7%, Protestant at 37.7%, and Seventh-day Adventist at 11.8%. If you're ever thinking about traveling to Rwanda, here are the top tourist attractions and things to do while you're there. Many travelers spend only a night in Kigali before gorilla trekking. Never miss out on the vibrant culture, cuisine, and sightseeing in Rwanda's capital city. Plan to spend at least a few days here at the beginning or end of your trip. Gorilla trekking. The mystique of getting up close to creatures who share 99% of our DNA captivates travelers from around the world, and there's no better place than Rwanda to do it. Nature lovers can go on safari in Akagera National Park and get a bird's eye view of Nungwi Forest from a canopy walk. If you're interested in culture, check out the fascinating exhibits on traditional customs and beliefs at Rwanda's Ethnographic Museum. Don't miss out on the royal cows at the King's Place Museum. Tourists can learn about the horrific event of the 1994 genocide at the Kigali Genocide Memorial. This haunting museum dives into the timeline that led up to the event, bringing the horrors to life through the halls of photographs, artifacts, and information. The main exhibit hall wraps around prominent sculptures and features stained glass windows that cast a hopeful glow on the space. One of Africa's best collections of ethnological and archaeological artifacts can be found in Rwanda's Ethnographic Museum, located about 130 kilometers south of Kigali in the district of Huye. Belgium gifted the museum to Rwanda in 1989 in honor of the 25th anniversary of Rwanda's independence. The Ethnographic Museum, 7 galleries take tourists back in time to pre-colonial Rwanda. You'll see an impressive collection of woven baskets, traditional garments made from animal hides and woven grass, spears and bows, musical drums from hundreds of years ago, and old farming tools. Volcanoes National Park isn't just a place to see gorillas. It's also a prime spot to immerse yourself in Rwandan culture at Gorilla Guardians Village. Run by reformed poachers, the non-profit cultural village gives tourists the chance to try their hand at Rwanda's most famous crafts and activities. I know this was a long video, but thanks so much for watching, and here are my sources. Bye!